Good morning and welcome back to Mayor's Update. This is a fantastic weekly feature, and I often think, I don't know if I have enough stuff to say, and then we always use up way more time because I can talk forever on a lot of subjects. But this week we're going to talk a lot about what happened at council this week and some other events happening in town. So let's start off with those events. This week included McHappy Day, and I thank all of those that came by to say hi. Well, your mayor was serving at McDonald's yesterday afternoon. It was a real fun time, and we got to see a lot of people who we often see in another local restaurant. But it was great to see you all out at McDonald's. It's also a Mental Health Week. We did the proclamation and flag raising here Monday at City Hall, and there's a series of events all week. So please get out and help. Bring awareness to local mental health issues and the great work that CMHA, Welkin, some of the other helpers in mental health in our community bring to our community. We don't want to ignore that we have mental health issues in St. Thomas. We want to challenge ourselves to make them better. And that's what Mental Health Week allows us to do. Some great chalks, drawings on the sidewalks. CMHA was out yesterday doing some chalks. So we hope before it rains you get a chance to go out and see that. Let's talk a little bit about this week. Yesterday afternoon and last night, we're out at the Memorial Center for the launch of our settlement study. We asked them, the citizens of St. Thomas, to come on out and look at the maps of the area of St. Thomas where we're going to grow, where we've got extra land in St. Thomas where we still can build. And it was a lineup at 2 o'clock to get into the Memorial Center yesterday to have some coffee and talk to the mayor and council. Some of the councilors were there, and the planners and the people in the city. So we'll keep this going. This was the first outreach for what will it look like in your mind when we expand St. Thomas, when St. Thomas grows by another 10,000 people in the next decade. Where will they live? What will the housing look like? So we thank you for coming out for that. I guess one of the most, both intriguing, fun, and issues from Monday night's council meeting was the work we've been doing on the animal control bylaw. Now, every community has an animal control bylaw, what you can keep in the city and what you can't. Farm animals, as a general rule, are not allowed in the city. And pets, cats and dogs, and your standard pets are. But under the Ontario Disabilities Act, Persons with Disability Act, you're allowed service animals. Well, this is becoming a much wider range of who's allowed a service animal and what a service animal might be. So the discussion on Monday night turned to goats. There is a location in town where someone is keeping a goat as a service animal, and so the neighbors are certainly discussing whether it truly is a service animal or just a way around the Persons with Disability Act. But you're allowed one of any type of, if you have permission from your doctor, if your doctor states you must have a service animal, your doctor, a nurse, or there's a whole line of people who can suggest you need a service animal. But there are still size restrictions on, so you cannot, just so you know, have a service animal cow. There would be too big of an animal, or a service animal elephant. That would not work. But there are size restrictions. So if a goat isn't taller than 65 centimeters, it could be a service animal. I was informed on Monday that you can even have a service animal snake, provided it's not more than 65 centimeters long. I guess once it's longer than 65 centimeters, it's no longer a service to you. So you'll need to get a smaller snake for that to work. I'm being a bit facetious about it. The animal bylaw in St. Thomas is something to really take serious. We want to make sure no animals are being endangered or abused by having too many animals in any one house or having animals that are penned up too much. But we have learned that animals can be of a great service to people who have anxiety and other disorders, and a service animal is great. But that's the new law. That's the new animal bylaw in St. Thomas, and we spent some time talking about that on Monday night. And I won't say we didn't discuss, well, what about an animal with horns? What about an animal that can hurt you? And well, of course, there are dogs and cats that could hurt you. So it's more a matter of the animals you're allowed to have, you still must keep under control. They must be tethered or in a yard. They're not allowed to run free any more than your other pets are. So that's the new look at animal control. We also talked to a couple of other kind of housekeeping things, but one was the amount of new sidewalks going into our community this year. there is a list in St. Thomas of the sidewalks that need to be done. And it's a long, ongoing list, and we're slowly getting caught back up. Now, we're not saying by that all the sidewalks in the city are perfect. We're saying we're getting the worst ones covered and the largest areas covered. And each year we choose a certain group, the environmental group in the community gets to pick what sidewalks should be next. The council then votes on it and says, yep, those are the right ones. Let's do it. So there's quite a number of kilometers of sidewalks being replaced in St. Thomas. So watch for the bad sidewalk in front of your house to maybe be replaced this year. If it's not this year, we plan every year for more for the following year and the following year, so we can try and attack it by worst sidewalk fixed first scenario. So we've got some of that going on. Another great piece of news, and it tells you the depth and how great work of the departments in this city. The 2018 financial review year-end update came. So the year ends December 31st. Usually takes till about now to find out how did we do versus our budget. And within, some $90,000, I think, was a $90,000 surplus, which would be added back into some projects for this year. But to take a budget as large as ours, some millions and millions of dollars, and come in that close to doing the job properly is really quite unique. I mean, I think most people wouldn't understand. We hear about deficit spending or deficits at the provincial and federal level. Cities aren't allowed to. Cities must balance their budget every year. So we come up with a fairly strict balanced budget that has to be followed. And then at the end of the year, if there is a surplus, it must then be assigned to projects in the next year. So that's where we're at with the city, and we're quite proud that we're able to come in that close. And it speaks highly of the great work in the Treasury Department here, but also across the other departments in the city. Another great thing happening in our community this week was the installation of the new local artist banners by the DDB. Local artists putting art on the street, drive-by art, but it's a fantastic new look downtown, coming out of the winter and into the spring. Some beautiful banners. Come on downtown, visit your favorite merchant, and take a look up at the new banners on the street. Also happening this week is the Impact Awards, the recognition of the very best in business in St. Thomas. That award ceremony takes place tonight. Peter Mansbridge is coming to speak, and we'll be picking the very best of the businesses in St. Thomas. And it's a hard choice because there are many, many great entrepreneurs in St. Thomas. Another thing we'd like to ask of you is, we can't do this show without your help. We also need you to ask us some questions. Tell us some topics you'd like us to cover. We'll try and cover what happens at council, but we need you to ask questions about your municipality, about city government, and about the running of the city. So please send us in those questions also, and we'll see you next week with the answer to some of those. I look forward to seeing you again, sharing the information from the Mayor's desk here in St. Thomas.